and recognized as one of the pioneers of the punk rock movement in Canada. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we were around when that was all happening in Canada. We were in Toronto, and Toronto was a major city in the punk rock scene, along with London and New York.
Right.
And we were at the forefront. But one of the main reasons I think was because we had been a band for a couple of years like before that. So we had been rehearsing, we had been composing songs. So when the scene kind of exploded here in Toronto, we were in Hamilton. We weren't far away,
right.
And we just found a place where we felt we belonged.
I live in Hamilton, and I know you're from Hamilton. It's one of those cities, not unlike Winnipeg, where I lived for 12 years, where it's got a bit of an underdog status, right. And it's also responsible for a lot of really great music. And people will often talk about the quality that's come from there. How much do you think a city like Hamilton, being a blue-collar town, being a working-class town, has influenced the music that's come out of there?
You know, Hamilton is just a town of no pretense, and there's so many characters. Like there's no clones. There aren't any clones in Hamilton. It's just you've got normal people, weird people. They're walking all over the street. Doesn't matter what neighborhood, what part of the city, and there's just all these colorful characters. And I think that's got a lot to do with it. You know, There's just, I mean, it's constantly. We go walk down the street in Hamilton, you are going to run into a strange person.
Well, yeah, absolutely, and
there's no doubt about it. What I found in Hamilton and a lot of musicians, I see a lot of them are pretty tough guys, you know, and tough girls, but they, you know, but they're into the arts.
Right.
So you kind of get like bikers that read poetry.
That's even scarier than bikers that don't.
Type of thing. But that's how I kind of feel about Hamilton. You know, you know, it can be pretty intimidating town.
Right.
I thought it was really funny when we used to come, like when the punk scene was happening in Toronto, and we used to come, and from Hamilton, like, and it was like we were from some far off land, you know, that we came in from Hamilton, and they couldn't figure us out. It was kind of cool, actually.
You had some status as being from that weird place,
we're from the weird place from Hamilton, and then of course everyone was a little bit more tougher, you know. So so there was this kind of like, you know, push and pull type of feel between us. And actually, when we really got off on it, we really enjoyed it. We really loved everybody from Toronto, but I mean, we really liked the idea that we were coming in from Hamilton.
Well, see, I grew up in Winnipeg, so as you can imagine, we had a similar complex where we thought we were tough. But the problem is we had to travel 2,000 kilometers to find anybody who cared.
Yeah. Well, no, but you know what, Luke, you're absolutely right, and that's one of the toughest parts about being a musician in Canada. And it's one of the most fortunate things about being from Hamilton. We only had to travel 50 miles to go to a musical center. Yeah. You live in Saskatchewan. You live in Manitoba. You have a long way to go. Yeah. And I think it's one of the toughest things about being an artist in Canada.
So what about your guitars? You have beautiful guitars. You brought two guitars that I've seen you with so far here at this festival. One of them is a Les Paul Junior. I think it was a 56 or 57?
Yeah, the Junior was a 57 Junior, yes.
And this is a special?
It's called a special, yeah.
Which means it's a Les Paul Junior and it's a flat body?
They just brought them out from about 55 to 59 for about 4 years.
Wow.
And I think what it was basically a stripped down Les Paul. You can see there's no binding.
There's no binding.
Yeah, it's like if the weight, you can feel the weight of it.
And it doesn't have a carved top. It's actually quite a bit lighter than a Les Paul would be.
Yeah, and really I wanted to play a Les Paul, but I didn't want to play a Les Paul after I picked one up.
Because they're too heavy.
Way too heavy.
Yeah.
And then when I found this, and also it was the weight that I just loved. And also I wanted one because on the cover of Too Much Too Soon, Johnny Thunders is playing one. He's got one. Yeah.
Well, and they seem the juniors, and I consider this part of the junior family because it's because it doesn't have a carved top, because it's got the P90 pickups instead of the big humbuckers. Yeah. And of course they were more affordable back in the day.
Right.
And they're not as collectible as the standards or
the gold
tops and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But they really are, like, that's maybe between this era of Les Paul and a Telecaster, that's the cornerstone of punk rock right there, those guitars.
Again, there's the simplicity of them. Say I don't have the Junior, but this has got two pickups. But there's with the one pickup, like say the TV model that Johnny Thunders played. There's a volume and a tone and a pickup and wood.
That's all. Yeah. Yeah, I know.
And a pickup. Yeah, and then you plug it in and off you go.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about these things too. That's just, you know, they're just solid guitars. They're beautiful guitar. They're beautifully made, and this thing's taken. It's been with me for you know, nearly 40 years.
And you've never broken the headstock off it?
Oh, well, 2 or 3 times. Yeah.
Oh, okay.